Hi, I'm Todd Banco. Today I want to have video and discussion about CRM for the Mobile Sharpener. It's an area that I think a lot of people that are getting into sharpening business that are mobile don't often think about, and we need to have some more insight and possible tools and tips to look at making yourself a little bit more efficient. So, a CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. What it is, it's a strategy and use of technology for managing your company's relationships and your interactions with your current and potential customers. This could be any form of technology. And that's what we want to discuss is what are the options, what are the different things that you should be considering when you're looking at trying to establish and interact with your customers and think about how and what you need to know about your customers and potential customers. It also is used to help businesses streamline their processes, improve your customer service, and increase your sales. These are the technical terms. So let's talk a little bit about how and what we can end up using. When you look at a CRM, they contain many of these different facets or elements, and it's very hard to distinguish the diamonds in the weeds. Some of them will have contact management. Others, there's up to possibly 15 different elements that are put into a CRM. And some of these, like I said, are contact management, account management, reports and dashboards, workflow automation, a customer database, lead management, territorial management, email marketing, sales forecasting, document management, customizations, integrations into other different pieces of software, cross-platform. Are you working on your PC or you working on your phone? Artificial intelligence, quote management. Like I said, there are so many different flavors of CRM, and they will include some of these, some of them they may not include. And this is what is really hard to differentiate when you go to try to look at saying, what CRM should I use for my business as a mobile sharpener? And there are dozens, like you do any internet search, you're going to come up with totally a dozen, 100 different possible solutions to your that will be marketed to you as a mobile sharpener and saying, hey, this is what you need to do your business. And the problem is that not all of them will work to what we need as a mobile sharpener. And I hope that my whole purpose of this video is really to talk about what I sought to find a workable solution and what did my research reveal about possible candidates that I could use. So the thing when you start looking at a CRM is you want to start asking some questions. And these questions, there's a variety of different questions, but we'll talk about a few of them. You really want to look at how many people use a CRM. Now, a lot of these CRMs are designed for big businesses or medium business where you have tens, hundreds of people using them. Everyone that might be a salesperson, everyone that might be an accountant, everyone that might be a dispatcher might be using the CRM. So you want to ask yourself how many people are using the CRM? Well, in a small business like this mobile sharpener, it might be just one of us because there's only one of us in the entire company. So again, we don't need something that is going to be hundreds or thousands of people. There are many different flavors of these CRMs. And how do we differentiate which one might be best suited for our situation? The other thing that we have to realize is that there are so many different business models. Ours is a service model, but a lot of CRMs are going after a sales model. You might be a door to door salesperson, or you might be a marketer an email marketer, or another one might be a box store where they are turning around and selling business to business, or it might be a retail outlet. So you have to realize there are so many different business models that exist, and all of these CRM manufacturers are trying to market to the masses, and they don't know your business model. So you have to really go through and understand that while there is a variety of these different CRMs, they may not be suited to your business model. So you have to understand what your business model is. And you want to find the system that is best suited for yours. In a mobile sharpener, hey, we might be, it's your totally service oriented, or is it service and sales? So you have to ask these types of questions to help weed out the bad candidates. The best thing that it can say about any CRM is there is no perfect CRM. Doesn't matter which business model you have as a mobile sharpener, you're not going to find the perfect CRM. You're always going to have some compromises. So you have to find out which one works for your particular situation, your particular mind too, and your particular outcome. What you need to start off is, what is your business objective? Is it sales? Is it service? Is it support? Really identify, what are you trying to do with your business? The next one is your customer data. What data is important to know about your customers? Is it just their address? Is it just the names of the people that you're doing? Is it what type of service you have conducted? Is it what type of sales you have performed? So you really want to hone in on what data, and all data may not be always what you want, but what data is important to your ability to meet your business objectives. If you're trying to service, you want your customer data, where it is, and what type of service or what type of support you're doing to that customer. As a mobile sharpener, I want to know things like their address, their how do I get to their place, what might be their hours of opening and closing hours, what days are they open, what days are they closed. So this is where it's really important to understand what type of customer data you want to record and have accessible to you in providing your objectives. If you're doing sales, you might want to do more about, hey, which person has purchased previous sales. It's very important to understand what type of customer data you need to have accessible via your CRM. The next thing you want to understand is, what is the goals of your CRM? Um, do you want to better your customer relationship? Do you want to increase your sales? Or are you trying to streamline your process? You really want to define, if I'm going to put time and effort into having a CRM, customer relationship, that's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort. It's going to take some resources. What do I want to get out of that CRM? Those are the essences of trying to find the right CRM. And those are the elements that you want to look into, especially when you're trying to sort out these different CRMs. If you just take a look at those basic areas, that's going to get you a huge start into trying to find the right CRM. The next thing is, look at your budget. Is that you have no budget, or that you want to keep it relatively cheap? Is it free, or do you want to spend a little bit? Because let's face it, some of these items that are free are not always accessible or supportable. The other thing that you want to consider is, what are the deployment options? Is it something that you just have in a book? Is it something that is on the web that you have to use a web browser? Or is it only something that is in your computer at your home? Or is it cloud based that you can access it anywhere? These type of things come into how and what's your accessibility, may not be deployment, accessibility to get to the data from your CRM. What's the ease of use? You can have the perfect CRM, but you have so much floundering that you have to go multiple different screens to get at multiple things because you're recording so much customer data that it becomes not that easy to use. Sometimes you have to look at saying, keep it simple, stupid, or the KISS principle. Let's take a look at my requirements. My requirements as a mobile sharpener is that I needed to have a customer address. I am also wanting to keep track of, what are the contacts? What are my people or my contacts at that customer, because I'm might be dealing with more of a business on business. What industry are they in? So I do mobile sharpening. My primary stuff is barbers, salons, groomers. And the other thing too that I would like to do is I really want to just keep notes about my interactions with my customers. So those are what I said are my primary requirements: customer address, contact information. How do I contact them? Phone number, email. What are the people there and that industry? And like I said, for me, I'm trying to do a service where I'm a business to a business. So I'm supporting a salon. I'm supporting a barbershop. I'm supporting that business, and the people that are in there are the sub elements. But I still need to keep track of the information of my clients that are in that business to business model. I want to identify a business customer and business contact details. Now, the other thing too is that I might have multiple customers with the same name, such as Great Clips. Well, they have umpteen different stores, and I want to be able to identify each individual business and the contact details of those businesses that have the same name and multiple location tracking. So I don't want to have just one entry for Great Clips. I need to have Great Clips at these multiple locations. So that is something that I have to make sure that my CRM can do and quickly identify how it is that they do it. I also want to record my interaction with each client within the business. The thing is that if I'm dealing with one stylist or barber in that business, I want to record my interactions with them because it's important for me to support each client, because not each client may select me as their sharpener. I also wanted to have the ability to record future appointments. Once I was finished, can I set up an appointment? Can I set up a time period that I should be doing a follow up? It might be 6 months, 3 months, 90 days, 1 year, depending on what their requirement, what their needs are. So I need to have that ability to identify future appointments. I wanted to record and track future follow-up target dates. So that was where that 6 months. I also wanted to have the ability to record calls or visits and my interaction with that. So if I showed up at a potential customer, XYZ barbershop, and I just went in and did an introduction, I wanted to be able to record that, hey, I did a visit. Who did I talk to? How long did I talk to? Did I showcase anything about my abilities and my skill level? Or was it just literally I walked in and they said no thanks? So I wanted to have any of that type of information being recorded. I also wanted to have the ability to manage my CRM from my phone or my PC because I believe in technology. I believe in software, databases like Excel and that type of stuff. I use a lot of those type of tools, but I needed to make sure that I could access it because I'm faster on my computer at home, but I need to be able to see this information via my phone, and I can update it both places. But for multiple information, I'm going to do my bulk of my work on my PC at home because I'm faster there. I also wanted to have the ability of calendar management so I can take a look. What are my bookings? What are my appointments today? What are my appointments next week? What are my follow ups that I should be dealing with this week if I have availability? So I needed to have all of that to be accessible via a calendar. One of the other features that I wanted to have situational awareness. And I thought that I would love to have a visual mapping of my customers' locations and interactions. And why is that important for me? And that is that if I have an appointment with a customer, and let's say I'm done in an hour or 2 hours, who are my other customers in the immediate area? If I just look in my database and I'm just using a addresses, well, how do I differentiate saying which customers are closest to me? So having the ability to have a map says, okay, here's the customer that I was just at. What are my other customers in the immediate area? When was the last time I visited them? Who do I have follow-ups in the upcoming area or upcoming dates? The other thing too is that I wanted something that was relatively free or low cost. Because when I started up as a hobby and this type of thing, I wanted something that was reliable, met all these requirements, but didn't have a huge cost. Some of these items that I found that could meet a lot of these things, but were expensive, like $60, $100 US a month. So we're talking $1,000, $1,200 a year. And that was something I could not afford. So I had to be realistically and say, what can I get as the best value, best bang for my buck? It might not be free, but it might be a reasonable low cost that can be supported. And like I said, I wanted to keep it simple. I didn't want to have it integrated with all accounting and billing because a lot of these CRMs, they go touted saying, hey, they're fully integrated. You can do all your accounting, you can do all your billing, you can issue invoices, you can do full circle, that you can do follow ups and leads. You know, you create a lead, you create a contract, you create a quote. I didn't want that. I didn't want any of that because I do my counting in a different system, and I do all of my sales processing through a different function. I can do credit card payments. I don't want to have it integrated in my CRM. So again, I didn't want integration. All I wanted was contact management, contact situational awareness, my customer situational awareness. So I really wanted that keep it simple, stupid approach. The other thing is I needed it so that it works with my mobile service model. And that is that I'm going out to my client's location. I'm going into the barbershops. I'm going into the salons and I'm servicing my clients within those. So that is my service model. And it's a service model, not a sales model. So I really need to make sure that I'm able to track to my clients. I'm able to work with that information. So now my research begins. I said, you saw my list of criteria. How do I go through and doing my internet searches? What could I find that gave me the possible CRMs? And you will see a plethora of these. Now, I'll just quickly go through the ones that I've looked at and what were the elements that I looked at. Zoho came up right away, but I could only have 500 records. So it means I could only have 500 customers on the free plan. And the element of this is that it was pipeline or sales driven. So it didn't really meet my requirement. HubSpot was another one. It comes up, it's great. It's got free tools. The one thing that I found is that it targets email phone or lead and pipeline sales flow. So it really didn't fit my service model that I was looking at. BitRiz 24, it's free. It but it's structural for call management. So like you're trying to do calls, cold calls that you're either calling on a phone or could be emails type of structure. So I didn't find that it really fit my needs. ClickUp, it was another one. It's free, uh, and but it targets activity for teams. So this might be something where you have a group of people and you're trying to provide this. Again, it only provided some of the elements, but it was more for this team element, team function. Pipedrive is another one that you'll come up if you're doing the research just like I did. This is, again, sales driven through leads. What you'll find is a lot of these functions of CRM or sales is that you identify a lead, you then say, okay, here's my person. What do they need? What's your interaction with them? You're providing a quote. How did you qualify and did you solidify the deal? That's a pipeline in the CRM process. So you'll find a lot of them are based around that model. This didn't meet my requirements because I'm not using a pipeline system. If I was doing mainly sales, that might be something that is could fit your needs if you're doing more sales orientation. Another one that it came across was the less annoying CRM. It is contact based rather than business based. So each contact you can put in there, and then you can turn around and you could treat each customer as a contact. But I couldn't put individuals underneath that. So it's kind of like if this was, I'd have to put a contact for each client that might be in a particular business. So if it's a stylist in a salon, for me, that's how I would possibly do it. Or I might have to do contact of that business, but then I couldn't provide that information. And the other thing about this is that it tracks the leads through the pipelines and emails. So again, it's going through that sales process, not so much a service orientation. Odoo is another. The one thing about Odoo is that you can only use one app available in the free version. And it's highly integrated between apps. So you can, as you subscribe to different things, you subscribe to different apps and you can build your system. But again, I found it very limited that I could only use one app in the free version, and that might be just customer database. But I couldn't do tracking, I couldn't do mapping, that type of stuff. Insightly is another CRM. It's designed for mass emailing. So again, it didn't fit mine. Spotio, this is designed for door-to-door sales force teams. So it sort of could work because I'm sort of doing door-to-door aspects and servicing through door-to-door. So think of me as a sales force team of one, and I'm doing a service type of sales. So it could possibly work, but I found better items. Another couple more that I found, Map My Customer. This was very nice. I found that this might be one of the elements that could fit my business model. The reason why I liked it so much is that it gave me that mapping feature. But the one thing that I found is that it was very expensive. It was $60 US a month. The other thing too is that it also integrated with a lot of others. So if you had Odoo, you could use Map My Customer to provide the mapping function in which it linked into your other database stuff. It is expensive, but it wasn't all in one package kind of thing. But it has a lot of really neat features. And, if you had two or three different customers or for that day, provide the most efficient routing to get you through your customers, that type of stuff. But I found it's expensive, $660 a month, basically $800 a year was beyond my reach. And Beaver Maps was another one. It only managed customers but not contacts. So I found it that I could use it. It provided a mapping function, but the elements that were there were not as customizable, and I couldn't individually track people within those customers, so contacts within them. Let's say if I wanted to detail a stylist, track them as a contact within that customer. Uh, there was no capability of that, but I could make Beaver Maps work. It was $25 a month was one of the elements. So it was on my short list. One page CRM, this did work, but again, it was contact based other than like Beaver Maps was customer based. This was now contact based. So it was contact rather than business based. So now I had to have contacts for each individual person or treat each business as a contact. But that was the way that I could go, is that I only had one contact, and I was now being restricted as to how and what my information is within that. Friday CRM is another one. It was free. There was no app to it, but it was web accessible. The other thing too that I found is really limiting to it is that I could create notes, but once I created that note was not editable. So it was like snapshots, today's snapshot and the next time snapshot. So once I created that, it was no longer editable. So if I made mistakes, if I made spellings or incorrect information, I couldn't go back and update it. So that was one of the things that I did not like about Friday CRM. My CRM journey, how I started, and there's one more CRM that I'm going to add to that list, and it's what I'm using right now. But let me go back in time a little bit and talk about how I got to what I'm using as my CRM now. So when I first started with my CRM, I used just a paper notebook, and in many ways, I still use a paper notebook today, but it's sort of like my temporary field notes kind of thing. But that's where I started off. You could use a CRM just literally as a paper notebook that you could get and go to the dollar store and have customers and turn around and devote one page to a customer and literally write down their address or their contact information. That makes it where you could turn around and have the alphabet and just search through them that way. So the CRM does not have to be a software. It can be as simple as a paper notebook. The other thing that you have is limitations. Yes, you can take it with you, but how do you turn around and create a visual awareness? It doesn't meet my requirements of having that mapping function. Spreadsheets are great because now you can have that function and they could be used by Open Office, Office Libre, Microsoft Excel, any of the spreadsheets. There are free versions and there are paid versions such as Microsoft Office or Office 365 that give you those capabilities. Again, some of these you could have them, but where are they stored? They're a file stored somewhere. How do you access them? It didn't meet my requirements of being able to use it on my computer and have access to it in the field. How do I manage multiple spreadsheets? So another one that I went to was OneNote, and OneNote was kind of neat because I can run it both on and this is Microsoft OneNote. It comes free with your Windows PC platform, and I turn around and use it a lot of times for creating notes that are accessible. And how I created this at first was I made a section. So I made a notebook just for my customers. And I created sections for each customer. And then within each section, I would have page one as my contact information. Page two, another one, is my interaction details. So I might have a client or a stylist within that um, that customer or that salon, and then I would put my details for that. So I would have a single page for each client. So then I could turn around and say, oh, I sharpened their shears this day on this, or I sold them a set of shears. And it was all managed that way. The biggest problem that I had with OneNote is that I didn't have that ability to manage or interact with my customers to export it into the mapping function. And you have to remember, all this is text. It's all text based. Like I can't do automated functions, that type of stuff. And you'll see why that's important down the road. Another feature that I used was Google Maps. So Google Maps gives me the function or ability to tag, and I can use saved lists. And I can turn around and say, I want to save this. Like if I turn around and go to a customer, let's say it's Great Clips again, I could turn around and say, add this Great Clips to one of my lists. And I could add them to a client, a list that is clients, a list that are visited. I could set them saying, hey, this is my avoid list. And I could do that every time that I went there. I could actually say, add to the save feature. So I could edit right in Google Maps these contacts or the information. So I every time I visited, I could keep updating the visit details. So that's right in Google Maps, and that's using the lists feature. But it didn't have that detail of saying what's with each client. So again, it was sort of like if I could marry Google Maps to OneNote in some way that was automated, now I'm starting to get an integrated CRM. But it allowed me to explore and gave me some capabilities of saying, hey, how can I use this? This is where I went into and I found Apptivo. So Apptivo is a CRM system, and I integrate it with mymaps feature in Google Maps. So now I'm actually able to, with Apptivo, I'm able to keep track of my customer database, and I can use my PC. I can use the Apptivo phone app, so I can use interaction, and all of this data is stored on an external database in the Apptivo world. So I have access to it either from home or from my phone. And I have the ability to export that information and provide it into my maps and use Google Maps that I can link my Apptivo app directly to Google Maps. And I'm going to showcase this. So this is what I'm currently using. With Apptivo, I'm using a light plan, which means I have a limited number of apps. And it's a much larger function. Like you can have light plan, you can have starter plan, you can have enterprise, which gives you a whole bunch of applications. So all that I'm using is that my home on the right hand side here lists things such as my calendar events. I have a customer database. I can do emails. I don't really use them right now. I have contacts. So I have customers and I have contacts. So I can separate my clients within my businesses and my customers. And the biggest one that I do is my notes. I can turn around and use some leads for sales, but this is my primary function that I'm using Apptivo for is my customers database, my calendar events, and my notepads. And I can search any of these to, like let's say which customers have Casio shears, or which customers, what was the last time that I had a follow-up service with that. And it goes into a calendar like this. So I can turn around and one of the requirements is I can create follow-up times. I can schedule something says, oh, I need to follow up with this salon in so much time period. So 6 months ago, anything in yellow, are the time periods that I said, hey, I have to follow up with these customers. Anything in blue are actually appointments that I have. So I had customers appointments on the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, which I could turn around and identify correctly and schedule those. So all of a sudden, I know that I'm not going to be able to do any follow ups later with that. So it gives me that situational awareness. Where am I going? What am I doing right now, this week, and in the upcoming future? So if I know that I've got phone calls, I can book appointments and know which days are free, which days are not. So the calendar is a huge important feature for me. When I look at the customer data itself, what type of information? And this is where I get into the customer overview and things that I can do. I can record the name, I can identify the category, I can identify, hey, I'm the one person. So this has the capability that I could assign different customers if I had additional employees that I could assign them and have multiple ones. So this is a much larger capability, but hey, meets my needs as a single employee, single business owner. I can put tags such as, are they a client? Did I visit them? Have I not interacted with them? Are they active? Have they gone out of business? These type of things. I can put in their hours. What's my callback time period that I'm want to do? The customer link that I have, this is an important one because I'll show you how I use that link to interact with Google Maps. Other things, phone number, address information. A key element, if anyone is going to be doing and wants to use Google Maps, you have to use Google Maps and go, when you select on a business, get the GMAP location. And I'll show you the reason why. That GMAP location is a whole lot more important than the main address, because Google Maps will target and point the icon to wherever the GMAP location is. So let's say I have 4 or 5 clients within a mall, which is all the same address, but they're totally different clients. The GMAP location can put the pointer at different parts in that mall because it's to the nearest, I think, 150 feet is how the GMAP location works. So those become really, really important and a whole lot easier to target down, because if your main address doesn't work the way it's looking at Google Maps uses the addresses, you may not always get to the right point. Some additional stuff is, hey, what's the last follow-up date? What's the follow-up description? When was it created? What type of industry? These type of things. What's the customer's website? These are the elements that I said, this is important data that I want to know about my customer. And I don't want to get too involved. I want to keep it simple, stupid. What's my primary stuff that I want to know about them? If in my follow-ups, I can turn around and, let's say for this customer, he says, hey, here's my upcoming follow-ups. I can even look at, say, what's my today's follow-ups? What are the follow-ups that are overdue that I have not met the requirements? It doesn't mean that I have an appointment. It just is a flag to say, hey, you need to do something with this client to help ensure I'm providing service to this client. So follow-ups are a key element in my business model. Another one is log calls. And you'll notice all of these are across the top here. This is the overview. This is the calendar function. This is the follow-up. There's a task. I could assign a task list, but the one that I like is this log calls. And it's designed around, if you make a phone call, that you can log the information about that. But I also use it for my visits. Here's where, on February the 8th, I turned around and did an area stop at this Great Clips, and I did it as an in-person. I can record stuff, notes about that. Hey, and it records If I'm using the app, it records the date, the time that I recorded this, and the notes that I can, subject that I might have had as a discussion. I can do other things like create notepads. I can create documents to this. There, it's very, very powerful. But I use it for anytime I do a phone call, anytime I do a in-person visit, or identifying, hey, what did I do as part of that? The really important one for me was the next one, which is the notes. And in the notes, I keep track of who are the people there because I want it all on one page. I could turn around and create a individual contact for each person. So Tony's the owner, Monica, and I'm recording what was their shear that I serviced, unsharpened. What's the model number? What were the notes that I turned around and did this? So like, here's Tony's Kasho KGR. The edges were still sharp, but the tip was pulling the tissue. Uh, Things that give me insight the next time I go to service them. What was the angle that I used? Was it a full convex 35 degree? Was it a full convex 45? Was it semi-convex? And by doing the notes in this, I can turn around and see the history that I have sharpened that one shear. I can always ask, how's it doing? Do you want the same service? Do I need to change something? Is there something that didn't like or that didn't work out? I can see everyone in the salon. Like when I set up and servicing, I don't know everyone. They're bringing their stuff to me and I'm sort of sorting it out. Okay, is this Tony? Is this Monica? Is this Emma? Uh, who is whose shears are where? What are their stations? So I can turn around and keep that information as a single page view and quickly sort that out. So the customer notes is how I'm where I keep my situation awareness, what's happening in the salon, and how am I servicing that salon or barbershop. The integration to Google Maps. This is the other key element. And you can do this with any CRM as long as you can export it to a CSV or Excel spreadsheet. So what I do in this situation is I export my customer database, and things that I'm exporting is like the name, the category, the tags, phone number, last contacted. The key element that I want to have in there is that GMAP location, addresses. So this is the table that I'm exporting. So now once I have that table, and that table contains that information, is that I need to import that into mymaps. It's not just Google Maps. You have to go into your Google account and go into mymaps.
To import my data into Google Maps, I go to My Maps, and I'm going to go ahead and have an untitled layer. I'm going to import. So simply open that up and drag my file onto it, imports it. Now, it's going to ask me, how do I know the position of where I want to put a link? So this is where the GMAP, I want to definitely have the GMAP, and I'm also going to put in the name. So you can select multiple fields for this, and it's to allow Google Maps to know how and where to put the tag itself, and then what field are we going to use for naming the different tags. So I'm going to select the name of the the location. So they've been added. Now, when they first come in, they're all unique color. I like to use individual colors. Um, So I'm going to select them based on a tag. I have tags that can identify if they're a client, if they've been visited. And then I'm going to turn around and I want to identify what type of location. So is it a barbershop? Is it a salon? That type of stuff. And I have categories that provide that information. So come back to here. We've got different colors. They're random when they put it in. So I like to have my green uh, for my clients, I like to have yellow for places or red places that I will avoid. Yeah, let's go with that one. And for places that I've visited, I'll use yellow. For my non-ones, they're usually other, and I use a gray saying that I haven't turned around and visited them. So that's that. Now, if we turn around and we can see, if I sort of zoom out, the tags do pop right out. If I go to this one right here, this is the one that I visited, and or I have as a client. We can see the details. It's a hair salon, tags the phone number, what was the last time I contacted them. Oh, I have a follow-up date on April 28th for a 6-month visit. And there's the link, the address, city, state, and country, that type of stuff. But here's the really important part is that I have this link, I have a customer link that I've copied and pasted from my Apptivo app. And if I clicked on that, it'll turn around and launch me directly to my customer file. So in here, takes me to the overview page. There I can see if I've got any upcoming calendar information. What do I have for follow-ups? Hey, I've got a follow-up. It's on April 28th. I could go and look at that for further information, but it's just a 6-month demo. I can see if I've had any calls logged. Yes, I did have a call logged, and that was done on the 8th of February. And then my notes, I've got the details of the clients and their shares that I've done and the visits that I've done. So I sort of keep track of, been doing visits as in the notes, but I also can do visits via the call logs. So that's a quick demo.
So, like I said, the Google Maps integration of taking my data from Apptivo and having it where I can interact directly from my GMAP location. And that was using my computer. I still have the same capability with my phone. So here's my phone app, and you can see that it's the same thing. I can turn around and go into it, and with the thing, it pops up, says, here's my great clips. And if I've got my data in there, it's the same function. I go and click on there, and it takes me into my Apptivo app. And now I've got my my overview, uh, contact information. Hey, if I'm going there, I can select the main address or that type of stuff. But the thing is, it's already there. If I'm doing something, I can go into and create a log call. So if I want to turn around and create a new one, I can put in things like the call information, what type of call is it, what's the date and time, that type of stuff. If I'm actually going in and working with them and doing my notes, I can update my notes directly from there. So I can turn around and update the information directly from the phone app. The other thing that I can turn around and do is I can create a new follow-up when I'm finished. You know, if I want to create a new one, hey, 6 months from now, I want to do something in September, let's say the 10th, and I'm going to do 6 months. Great. So there's how I've absolutely created a new follow-up, and we can turn around and go and complete the other one, that type of stuff. So it becomes very, very useful. And these are the functions that I've added into my CRM, my customer CRM, is the calendar, the tasks, the call logs, and notes. So for me, This is extremely, extremely useful. I can turn around and customize things about it, different viewpoints. I can search for things like empty Gmap locations, empty customer links, something to manage my database. So this becomes very, very powerful. So that was a simple, quick overview. CRM, different things to consider, different applications or programs that you might be looking at, how I went through the process of identifying my elements regarding how and what I was looking for in a CRM, and which CRM I'm using and how I'm using it in conjunction with Google Maps. If I was doing this as a inline presentation, I'd be asking questions. And what I'd like to say is you can always put questions down in the comments below. I wish you well in trying to sort out, and I would encourage any business owner to look at using a CRM system. It doesn't matter from a service model or a sales model. The more and more you keep track of your customers, that you can better serve your customers and can support them in much more efficient manner. Thank you for your time and wish you all the best with your endeavor of trying to find and manage your customer base.